And all right. Okay, I think I'm live. If any of you are also on the Tree of Life page, if you could give me a thumbs up if I am actually live, but I think I am. It says 27. Okay, yes, we have a viewer. Okay, we're good. Awesome. I'm getting better at this technology thing. Okay, so next time I'm going to make someone actually be a host of the Zoom meeting with me so they can spend time admitting people into the room, because I feel like I'm going to get off task as soon as someone is in the waiting room on Zoom and wants to be a part of it. Okay, so hello, Tree of Life. Hello, everybody else who's joining us who isn't in the Tree of Life group. I'm so happy that we could make this available for both of you guys. And everyone's going to ask, is there a recording of this? There will not be a recording of the Zoom, but if you are a member of our Tree of Life family and you're a Young Living member of someone in the Tree of Life family, it will be recorded in the Tree of Life page. Okay, so you can just ask the person who invited you to this class to add you to that once you become a member, and you can just review anything that you missed. Okay. I think everyone just needs to take a deep breath. I'm so glad that there's a lot of people with us, but part of what I have to say today, I was being so convicted about as I was refreshing my notes. And one of those things was just, have you taken a pause today? And I'm going to admit, I have not paused today, like at all. So I'm just going to ask you to take a pause with me. If there is an oil next to you, I'm going to ask you to hold it in your hand, to crack it open. And I'm going to ask you just to smell it and close your eyes and just pause with me for just a minute. Okay. And as you pause, I want you to just recognize your breathing and just pay attention to your breath. And what is it doing? Is it fast? Is it slow? Don't try to manipulate your breathing. Just pay attention to how you're breathing right now. Okay. Now I want you to pay more attention to your breath, and I want you to take one drop of that oil, put it in the palm of your hand, rub it around, and take 3 big deep breaths. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that, because I needed a pause today too. All right. So we're talking about mental health and mental wellness. And this is a really important topic, especially because of what we're going through in our nation and our world, really. And as I was preparing on things to talk about, it was late last night, and I had written down all of these notes. And this morning, I was taking a shower, and that's like when the best thoughts come to me for whatever reason. And I was taking a shower, and I was just practicing on what I would talk about. And it's so interesting that I feel like my heart was tugged to just be really vulnerable with people, which is not that easy to do, right? Especially for people I don't even know on the Zoom call. But for some reason, I cannot stray from that. Every time I go over these notes, I'm drawn back to share your story. So if there are tears on this video, that's me, okay? That's just who I am. So who am I? My name is Christy Jones, and I'm a platinum leader with Young Living. And I've been using essential oils for the past 5 years with Young Living, although before that I had dabbled in some oils as well. They have radically changed my life in so many different ways. And sometimes I share the story in a face-to-face person, but I'm just going to go ahead and start here. So when I first got on board with Young Living, I wasn't looking to better my own self. I was looking to better the health and wellness of my family. I bought the starter kit, and in that starter kit at that time was an oil called Joy. And that oil smelled terrible to me, so bad that I was like, I'm going to give my joy away because I cannot stand the smell of this oil. Well, then somebody very kindly told me that that probably wasn't a good idea. And it was probably because I needed it at that time. She didn't know about my mental state at that time. I had three boys and a little girl, age 3. So my three boys were, I guess, 3. Let's go uphill. So 3, 6, 8, 10. I think that was the ages back then. Yeah, that's the ages, or around that. And I was severely overwhelmed with the season of life that I was in. And also, I was starting to have some panic and some anxiety and thoughts of depression that were invading my life again. And these are feelings that I hadn't felt in a really long time. And so she didn't know that about me. And she said to me, you know, sometimes when you don't like the smell of an oil, it means that you really need to tackle an emotion. Have you had some dark days? Have you had some hard time? And I was just like, what? Like, I didn't even know this lady. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, well, you might want to put that joy on the bottom of your feet every night and just surrender to those feelings. And you don't have to smell it if it's on the bottom of your feet, and work through that and see if you still don't like the smell after a while. And so I did that, and it was fascinating to me how the smell changed. So then I started navigating this book, and it's called Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. I highly recommend this book, but when you get it, you're going to need to walk through it with someone because it's very complicated unless someone walks you through how to utilize that. But I might refer back to this book in a little while. So for joy, there's certain pressure points, and you can put joy on those pressure points, and you can release those emotions and say a positive affirmation and get through things a little bit easier and faster with this book. I didn't have that book at the time, so I had a longer process of this. But I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about my mental health. And here I go. Okay, so that wasn't the first time that I had experienced depression, anxiety, and overwhelming feelings in my life. When I was in high school, I started having panic attacks. There was a season of my life that will probably stay with me forever, but now the way I deal with those emotions when things like that come up in my life is so much healthier. So when I was in high school, I had a traumatic thing happen to me, and I was actually abused, and it was by my friend's dad. And it was very hard because I would see this man on a regular basis, and he stalked me for probably at least 6 months. And so I'm shaking right now, just so you know. So it was really hard to deal with those emotions. I would go into a state of panic, and I would choose unhealthy ways to deal with that emotion. I did not seek out counseling, which I should have. I did not seek out any kind of medication, which I should have. And I certainly didn't know about essential oils. So when those panic feelings came back to me in nursing school, I didn't know how to deal with them either. And what happened was, even though I had released a part of that and I had gone through some of my own healing in that, when I came to panic about something totally different, my body didn't know that I wasn't going through that trauma again. Does that make sense? So my body felt those same emotions, and it was almost like I felt the same way every single time I would have a panic attack in nursing school. So I suppressed those emotions. I dealt with it in harmful ways to my body and to myself. And I harbored those emotions in my body. I am certain that that is why I had so many physical ailments in nursing school. My first year in nursing school, I had appendicitis, and it almost ruptured. Then 2 weeks after that, first of all, I would have like irritable bowel syndrome like crazy, because that's just how my body responded to stress and overwhelming feelings. And then 2 weeks later, after that appendectomy, I had a strangulated bowel and I almost died. And I became very, very, very sick after that surgery. There were 2 surgeries back to back. I got C. difficile after that. And I could probably just like empathize with most of my first year patients because I had something that they had. And it made me a good nurse, but it still didn't help me with how to deal with these emotions and how to deal with these feelings in life. Fast forward again now to where I began this whole segment, which was having a little girl. Okay. So my 3 boys, they were difficult, and mommy lost her mind a couple of times and yelled and screamed a lot more than I wish I would have. But when I had my little girl, I suppressed a lot of emotions, and they came up when I started to wean her. I got feelings of postpartum depression, like way after, and it was more of postpartum like anxiety way after I had her. So it was like when I started to wean her, which is about the time that I got my first oils kit. It was also about the time that I started getting counseling for the first time in my life. And so I started revisiting areas of my life that I hadn't dealt with before, and emotions that I had suppressed and thought that I was okay with. And I did something called EMDR, and it was a fabulous technique. And I wish I would have known to integrate it with oils, but I didn't at the time. And it just brought about so much healing. So what I'm about to share with you as far as the limbic system and oils and supplements and prayer and all of these things, I am sharing with you from someone who has been there. Okay. However, I'm not a practitioner, so I am not taking the place of a licensed professional counselor. And I think that I need to say that firsthand. I wish I had gotten that help before I did. So please hear me on that. These are tools, and I'm going to share with you tools tonight that can help you, but it does not replace professional help. Okay. All right. So that's what an intro, right? That's my introduction. Let's talk about why oils help with our emotions. And then we're going to dive into probably 3 different emotions that I just chose to talk on tonight. Okay. All right. Why essential oils? So let me talk to you just a little bit about the limbic system. You guys are going to get so tired of me talking about this because I end up bringing it up every single class, but this is good. So you'll be able to share with other people all about the limbic system. You don't have to be a nurse to understand this, okay? So I'm going to actually read this because it's the most well-written piece that I have found, and I can't remember the lady who did this. So at the end of this, I will post that in the comments section below, okay? But this is not my work. It's somebody else, and she's amazing. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the limbic system. The limbic system is thought to be part of the brain that regulates emotions, okay? It can also be thought of like a cook within the brain. Information is taken in through the senses and brought out through the thalamus where it's processed. From there, it travels to the amygdala, and the amygdala is like the smoke detector. It interprets the emotional significance of the message that it receives. And if a threat is detected, the smoke detector alarms and alerts the hypothalamus, which secretes a stress hormone to defend against the threat. The message then runs through the second neural pathway, through the hippocampus and anterior cingulate. It then goes to the rational part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, where a more refined interpretation will take place. And at times, the amygdala can be on high alert, like smoke detectors. The amygdala may interpret a threat that does not actually prove to be a threat. So this is kind of what was happening to me like in nursing school, right? So I would feel the same exact way as though something was happening to me like before, right? Because the brain can't understand that it's not happening. It just remembers the threat and it responds like that. Effectively dealing with stress and emotions depends on achieving a balance between the amygdala and the frontal lobes, which act like a watchtower, offering a different perspective of the scene than the amygdala. Thank God we have frontal lobes, because we'd all be walking around or running around like chickens with their head cut off. Okay. So God was brilliant when he designed us, and he said, okay, those humans, they're going to have a lot of smoke detectors going on in their brain, and we need a watchtower. I love that. So that's the frontal lobe. Okay, here's something else really cool. The olfactory receptors, those are the smellers, right? And they communicate directly with the amygdala and the limbic system. So the exact place the emotions are processed. This is one of the reasons why quality essential oils are so effective. Okay, so it's science. Science has proven many, many times that sense of smell will affect our mood, our behavior, our cognition, and our memory. It's a proven fact, right? So when we smell oils, there's nothing else different about that fact. So the sense of smell starts at your nose. The odor and the molecules are all different shapes and sizes and their varieties, and they float through the air. They hit the hairs in your nose that transmits the signal through your body, traveling to get a scent into the deep part into the brain, which is the limbic system. And it's unknown what happens in the limbic system. We're still kind of studying all of that. But as I said before, we know that science has proven that smell triggers a physiological and a psychological response. Okay, so one of the healthiest things that we can do for our mental state is to pause, like I said before, to pause and breathe. And I would add in staying present and smell some essential oils. Okay. All right, so have you guys ever heard of the primary and secondary emotions? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. All right, primary emotions. There are actually a lot of primary emotions, but when we first started studying primary emotions, there were mainly 4 to 6 main ones. Now, the more I studied that, the more I see that there's actually more than that, but we're going to bring it down a notch and talk about it like that movie. What's that movie? Inside Out. Okay. So if we can remember those characters, we have fear, anger, maybe there's more than this, but fear, anger, happiness, surprise, contempt, and sadness. Now there's a few that I added in there. Those are the primary emotions. The secondary emotions are the ones that we feel the way we feel about our emotions, if that makes sense. So let's talk about anxiety, because we've already brought that one up. Anxiety is a secondary emotion. So when we don't know how to deal with our emotions of fear or anger, sometimes they can erupt into this anxiety. And anxiety is a result of not processing that main emotion. Okay. And so it's not being, or you can say that you're not being willing to process the primary emotion. And this kind of struck me really hard. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 4 ways that you can deal with this. And it's quite simple. This is like a technique that you can use when you're having mental breakdowns. You can think it through. You can think, how is my body responding to this? Where do I feel this in my body? And why do I feel this? And really just to pause again, because we're in such a go, go, go world. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to process why we're feeling the way we're feeling. We need to be present. That's the second one. Be present and feel it. The third one is just to lean into that discomfort. And that's not an easy part of this whole process, leaning into that discomfort. So if you're having an anxiety attack, leaning into feeling it and leaning into the discomfort that it's going to give you, that is a hard thing to do. And then the fourth thing is to look at it from the physical. What could have been a trigger to this? What am I feeding my body on a regular basis? You can look through things like diet, things like exercise, things like essential oils, things like gut health. All of these we're going to visit tonight, okay? But those are 4 simple ways just to kind of process what these emotions are that you don't want to process. So I'm going to tell you, I had a meeting with my counselor a week and a half ago. And it was kind of just like a check-in pulse point of how I'm doing during all the changes. And I set it up with her. I said, it's not it's not an emergency meeting, but I just want to kind of share with you what I'm feeling because I'm having a lot of anger. And I don't like that. I don't like that anger. And when I really wrestled with it, I had already gone through some of those steps, right? But the thing that was coming out during our session was the word guilt and the feeling guilt. And I really had to wrestle with that before I could understand anger. And it's okay to be angry about this situation. We're at home right now. It's frustrating. We feel like, things have been taken from us. Things have been taken from our children. But that wasn't the root of my anger. My anger was coming out because I wasn't processing the guilt that I was having as a mom, guilt that I wasn't doing a good enough job for my kids' education, guilt that all of the little idiosyncrasies that our kids will show us when we are trapped in a house with them for weeks upon weeks, that was my fault. And so she had me do something that was really powerful. And I would have you look this up at the end of this video, and maybe you can just start practicing it on your own. But it's called, now I've EMT. I forgot what it stands for right now, but it's tapping. And tapping is really awesome at helping you process and get through to the next phase of dealing with your emotions. So she had me, this was so fascinating. She had me tap my first finger like this. Okay. So you just tap it 10 times. And this was me. And she said, this is the finger of shame. And when she said that, I started crying because that's what I felt like. That was my emotion that I couldn't name, I couldn't understand, and it was erupting in anger. Okay. So she said, Christy, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's tap this, let's name it, and let's send it out. Right. So you tap this 10 times, and then you tap this, right under your collarbone 10 times. Okay. You guys are all looking at me like you're crazy, Christy. Go look up tapping. It's awesome. It actually helps me on an airplane like nothing else. That and my Valor and Peace and Calming. I'm like tapping like a queen, smelling these things. People are looking at me like I'm crazy, but it gets me through because I used to not be able to fly because even the thought of flying would send me into a panic attack. Okay. So I did this, that finger of shame. I named the emotion. I leaned into it. I felt what that felt like, and then I released my anger. And she didn't walk me through the releasing part, but I can do that on my own. And the way I release things is to the Lord. So I'm not sure what you believe, but I am going to be talking from my perspective as a Christian, and I'm going to be giving you some verses that actually have helped me so much. So you can write those down when we go through those, and I hope that they help you too. One of those verses is in Psalm 34, 17 and 18. And I think I might laminate these and put these around the house. So here's the first one. So the Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. I love that, you guys. Like, we serve a God that identifies with our pain, our emotion. We are not alone. We have been seen by the Most High. He has come to us and he has given us his spirit, which transcends all understanding. And we have the authority by him, by Jesus, to be able to approach that throne with his spirit and say, fill me up when I am empty. I am crushed. Like, even the wording in these Psalms is like, oh my gosh, like, God knew my heart long before I was even born. He could speak my language. I see you, Christy. You are crushed, but you are not abandoned. I just love that. Okay, let's get into some oils first because we've talked about the limbic system. So I'm just going to give you a few. Here's the best part. Young Living is not just oils, but Young Living has categorize some oils and some kits that can really help you through your feelings and your mental health. And that would be the feelings kit. And I forgot to bring it with me tonight, so I'm not going to be able to hold it up and show you a picture of it. But go look on Young Living's website and look up the Feelings Kit. There's also something called the Good Day Protocol. And I've mentioned this one before, but it's worth mentioning again and again and again. There's also a graphic for it. If you're in Tree of Life, you can look it up that way. The Good Day Protocol is with some of the oils in the Feelings Kit. So it would be, step one would be getting Valor. Valor is amazing. And if you are in Tree of Life, you have that oil. So when in doubt and you're struggling with going through your emotional patterns, Valor is the first one you can choose without second guessing. It's known for balancing your body's energy, and you apply it on your hand, you rub your hands together, you smell it just like we did at the beginning of this video, and you can rub some on your wrist. It promotes feelings of strength and bravery. So that's Valor. The second one would be Harmony, and it's rubbed above your belly button and below your sternum on your solar plexus. And you can, if you don't have Harmony, I have heard that frankincense is an okay substitute for this Good Day Protocol. The third one is Joy, and that one goes over your heart. You remember, Joy is the one that I smelled at the beginning when I told you about this at the beginning of this class, that I hated the smell of. I actually now really like the smell. And it's taken me a really long time to say that. It's a powerful blend of oils, and it can help you feel more open-hearted. Even the emotion and the pain, even through the emotion and pain that you're experiencing. Step 4 would be White Angelica, and that goes right directly on the crown of your head. And you can rub it in your hands, put it over your neck and your shoulders, and it's absolutely incredible. It is a protection oil. So if you have a lot of needy people in your life, which I'm sure all of you do right now, it might be a good idea to have a lot of White Angelica on. So that's the Good Day Protocol. Okay, so let's go through another oil that I absolutely love, and I don't think it came with me tonight. So we'll do this one first. Stress Away. Stress Away comes in your starter kit. For me, it smells like a vacation in a bottle. So when I smell this, it takes me right back to like a tropical island. And I don't know what it feels like when you guys smell it, but it really is powerful to just help me unwind. Stress Away is also one that you should put one of those roller fitments on, because wherever you hold your tension in your body is where you're going to want to roll that. Okay. And I typically hold it. My chiropractor is on this call right now, so she understands this, but I typically hold it right here. There's this one spot in my neck that says, I'm going to put all that right there. So Stress Away I'm like smelling a lot like Stress Away right now. Surrender is another blend that I love. It's a hard word to say when you are going through hard times mentally. And surrender is a really difficult word, at least for me to say. I have felt feelings of anxiety, and I have felt feelings of depression and worthlessness. And surrender would not be the word that I would choose. So if you can't stand that word, just cover it up with a piece of duct tape. You need the oil. The oil is amazing. For me, surrender feels like a blanket. And it allows me to just take a really big, deep breath and kind of snuggle in, if that makes sense. Let's see. Acceptance is another one. So this is the order that I would do it in. I would say surrender, and I would do some praying, and I would surrender it to the one who can deal with all of this. And then I would have acceptance, because we do need to accept where we're at in order to move forward. Okay. And acceptance is a blend that when I'm depressed, I don't know about you, but I am not motivated to get anything done, which then adds to my depression, because I'm looking around and looking at all the things that are still on that to-do list, and I just can't get it done. So then I feel overwhelmed. So acceptance is a wonderful oil to overcome procrastination and even denial. Okay. All right. We also have some amazing rollers already. You can have a Valor roller. Also, peace and calming is really great to take some real good deep breaths with. And one of my favorites is frankincense. Let me tell you what I do with frankincense, because I don't have the white labeled frankincense with me. But let's pretend that this is it. I would take that. This is sacred frankincense, but I'll tell you, for frankincense and the white label, it means it is able to be ingested. And what I do when I am freaking out, you guys, and it is so good for me, I put a drop under my tongue. Okay. And it's amazing how quickly my body responds to that. It's like, okay, I can deal with this. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that. Please put that in the comments below, but it's a little secret and it is amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward with some other, let's see, what am I going to do first? Let's go with this too, because I forgot about this. This is our CBD. Now, you could take the CBD just by itself, and it's totally fine. When I bought this CBD, the instructions said to put a dropper full under the tongue. The instructions don't say that anymore. I still use it that way. That's all I can say about that. Now, you could use it just like that, or you could add oils to this. So if you are like me and struggle with some racing thoughts, then adding some frankincense to this, adding some orange to this, and dropping it under the tongue, it might help you actually enjoy the taste of it a little bit more, instead of putting frankincense directly under the tongue. And remember, when I talk about under the tongue, I'm talking about vitality oils. And if you have questions about that, ask the person that invited you to this class. Okay, let's see. And just to be clear, lemon in a vitality white label is the same exact lemon in another label, but we need to be compliant and state it appropriately when dealing with online classes. So I'm only going to mention internal use of vitality oils. Okay. All right, so let's move forward to ways that we can support our gut health, because we know that in our gut, it's basically we have all of these neuron receptors, and there's a lot of serotonin that is actually in your gut. And so if we have a bad digestive diet or bad diet, and our digestive system isn't functioning well, then it is going to impact our mental state. We cannot overlook that. We are a whole being. And even though we might feel it in one place in our body or our mind, it doesn't mean that we just treat that part. It doesn't make sense. We need to make sure that we're treating the whole person. Okay, so I can talk about taking these supplements. These are a few of my favorite. Life 9 is not with me right now. It's in my fridge. That's where it should go, and take it at night. Life 9 is probiotics. It is awesome. It is the best probiotic that I have taken, and I've taken many different probiotics. You can look up the different strains and all the different cultures in there, but just know that Young Living has done its research, and it is amazing. Now, with a probiotic, it's great, but if you get a prebiotic with it, it's like the fertilizer, so the good bacteria can start growing. And the faster that growth, the better we can impact our mental health as well. So I like to take the Life 9 at night, and then I like to take Ningxia Red. This has a lot of fiber in it. Ningxia Red is so good on so many different levels. We're currently talking about the digestive system and how well it helps promote the good bacteria growth, but it's also a whole body supplement. And the reason I'm bringing this little sucker out right now is because not only does it help with your digestive system, but all that stress and the oxidative stress is building up toxins in your bloodstream that makes you feel like crap, you guys. Like, it just makes you feel terrible and heavy and weighted down. And if you can understand those emotions and how they impact your brain, then you will understand how when free radicals are eliminated from your body through the use of an antioxidant, then you understand the power that you hold by just drinking 2 to 4 ounces of this every day. This is an antioxidant that relieves your body of the weighted down extra crap and stress that builds up in your system. And this has helped my mental clarity more than even some of the oils. Like, I just have to tell you from personal experience, this thing I will not live without. Okay, so while we're on supplements, let's just talk about omega GIs. These omega-3 fatty acids are really important for your brain and neuroreceptor sites to be able to bounce back and forth and communicate effectively. And so omegas are great. This is omega GIs. This would be part of the core supplements that I would recommend anyone dealing with mental struggles or just emotional stress to be on. Super B is like my happy pill. Super B, when I am out of Super B, it is hard for me. It's even harder for me on the rainy days, if you catch my drift. I am someone who's really affected by the weather. And I have noticed that these pills actually look brilliant yellow. Let me share with you. They also turn your pee yellow. So there's that. Some people don't know that. It's good to know. But these pills, if you can see, let's see. They are brilliant yellow. There's some turmeric in it. And let's see if my Facebook land can see that as well. It's everything that your body needs, and it's designed so that it's not foreign. There's no fillers in it. It's folate, not folic acid. If you are like over half the population, you have a genetic mutation and you didn't even know it, did you? And that genetic mutation makes it very difficult for you to assimilate folic acid. And in fact, a lot of people with that genetic mutation feel like crap when they take folic acid. So it doesn't help their mental state. So don't go out to the grocery store. Well, right now you might order it on Amazon. Don't go ordering Amazon B vitamins, because you're most likely going to get a folic acid with that, and that's not going to help you. But Young Living has done their homework, and Super B has everything that you need in the best assimilated form. They're just kind of guessing that everybody needs the natural form of folate instead of making it synthetic like folic acid. I'm forgetting one. Okay, this is a supplement that I like to take when I know I'm going through a stressful situation in my life. I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed out, my personality type does not sleep. There are many personality types, like 9s on the Enneagram, who sleep very well when they're stressed out. But me as a 2 and a 3, I'm actually a 3 with a 2 wing, if you were wondering. We don't sleep very well. Our mind is trying to fix things and solve things and get to the top of things and win and all these things. And it keeps me up at night really late. And I'm kind of a workaholic because of that. So when I'm going through stressful situations, I will take ImmuPro. Okay. ImmuPro has some mushrooms in it. It has wolfberry in it, which is in the Ningxia Red. It doesn't taste wonderful. And I just recently heard Lindsay Elmore swallows it whole. I had no idea you could do that. I have chewed it before, and I'm now rethinking that. So it is a very large pill to swallow, but I'm good at swallowing pills because I take a ton of vitamins every day. But this is the pill. And I might even get some of my kids to be able to swallow it because they don't like the taste of it, to chew it. But what it does is it helps me sleep. It has some melatonin in it as well. And with the antioxidants in it, it's just boosting my immune system, because we know that when we are physically stressed and mentally stressed, it impacts our immune system as well. Okay, so those are my favorite supplements for mental well-being, and those are some of my favorite oils for mental well-being. let's talk a little bit more about different emotions, and then we'll probably end this video in about 15 minutes. So hang with me through these. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the emotion of anger. So we talked a little bit about this before, but I left out some, actually, you know what? We probably did that. Let's fast forward through that because I don't want to miss this next one. Okay. We also talked about depression. Depression is something that is the result of, we can have depression and grief. We can have something called anticipatory grief even before grief begins, or even before the loss happens. We can anticipate that. That's what I'm going through right now with my mom, actually. She has Lou Gehrig's disease, and I didn't understand why I was grieving so much until someone said, there's something called anticipatory grief. And it made so much sense to me. Again, when we go through those 4 steps and we name it and we understand it, we can dive in deeper, feel it, accept it, and then move forward to start helping ourselves with tools. Okay. So depression, I don't know why I went straight to grief, I guess because it makes me depressed. But depression is the overwhelming weight down feeling. And how I would personally describe it, it's like the inability to get up and do. And it's like, it's beyond fatigue. It's mental fatigue. And it's something that it's so hard to bear. And you feel so alone. And I just want to speak into that you're not alone, that chances are someone right here on this call right now has experienced maybe not your situation, but experienced your emotion, and maybe not to the depth that you are personally experiencing it, but they've felt it. And if someone on this call hasn't, we know that we serve a God who knows our inmost being and who has sent his son to die for us. And I guarantee you that our Savior, Jesus Christ, experienced emotion to the level that I have never experienced before. Before he died on the cross, he was crying tears of blood. That is agony. I can probably fathom that our Lord and Savior felt depressed at times and felt anxiety and overwhelmed. And it helps me to think that way because I know that he can identify with my need and my emotion. So let's see, I just flew through that. Depression doesn't just go away in many situations. It's something that if you've experienced it in the past, I like to say, then you are able to more clearly see the warning signs before it comes at you again. And so as a childbirth educator, we often hear the question, if I was depressed before I had a baby, then does that mean I'm going to be depressed, postpartum depression? And I will say, who knows? But the signs before they get to you. And so you have tools in your tool belt. So what I'm sharing with you tonight is tools that we can help when we see those warning signs. And I would really recommend that if you have struggled with depression before, if you don't have a counselor, now would be a great time to get a counselor before you feel the depth and despair of depression come prowling at your doors again. But if you don't have a counselor, then just talk about it with someone, share about it with someone, because the last time I shared my story about my personal struggle with depression and anxiety, I had like 5 different messages from people that I didn't even know struggled with that. And so maybe you're looking at me tonight and you're saying, wow, she had it all together. I had no idea. I guarantee you there's more people out there that just aren't talking about it. And the more we talk about it, the more we can help each other. So let's not make this like this secret thing that we're dealing with. Let's really call it out and name it, and then just express dominion over it, because you don't have to live another day not wanting to live. You don't have to. And the more people you gather in that innermost circle to help you through, the more the chances are you don't have to have many more days like that in the future. but it doesn't just go away like a snap. It takes time and it takes work, and perseverance as well. I think I had finished what I want. Oh, okay. I want to end with something, but first I'm going to read a verse in Romans 5, 3-4. Just talking about how we just have all of these emotions in our life. Okay, Romans 5, 3-4 says, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they will help develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character. And character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us because he has given us his Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love. I love that. I love the fact that I can look back on my life and to see that high school girl who couldn't get it together some days and who was taking it out on herself through, harmful ways. I love that I can look, I'm going to cry. I love that I can look back on that little girl and say, you're seen, you're not alone. Because isn't that the lie that depression says to us? You're the only one that feels that way. That is such a lie, you guys. I love that I can look back on that little girl and say, look at what you've been through and tackled and endured, and the perseverance that it took, and the character that it developed, and the people that you can help, and the people that you can share your story with. I love to look back on that. Now, I would hate for people to go through what I had to go through to get to where I am. But the beautiful part is that I'm not that little girl anymore, and that I've grown. And now I can have these tools that I can help share with others. And gosh, I wish I had these tools earlier. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to grab another oil. We started this class with an oil. I'm going to ask you to grab another oil now. I'm going to dry my eyes. I'm going to read to you something, and I want you to feel it. And if you need to tell yourself this over and over again or print it out, do so and laminate it and put it on your mirror and say it to yourself every day, because you need to hear this. All right. And you can close your eyes and sniff your oil. All right. You are heard. Your feelings and experiences are valid. You are important. You are needed. You are valuable. You are not alone. Now, when I say those words again, I want you to be saying it in your heart as though you're accepting it. And this is what it would sound like. I'm just reflecting what you just heard from me. Okay. So this is what you would print out on your mirror. You would say these things again. I am loved. I am seen. I am heard. My feelings and experiences are valid. I am important. I am needed on this planet. I am valuable. I am not alone. And there are people here for me. Okay, you guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining me tonight. This class is so much more than oils. It was more about just sharing my belief that you're not alone and that we're going to get through this together. And I also believe, I believe in the healing powers of essential oils and in oil-infused supplements to help us. But I also believe that Jesus Christ himself has come so that we can be freed from the pain and the anguish and the stuckness in those emotions. And I believe that he gave us good gifts in the form of oils and food and nutrition to help our bodies function at the way that they were designed to function. So I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you can take some of this information and share it with someone else. And if you have any questions or if you just want prayer over you tonight, I'm going to stay on the Zoom. And if you need me to call you tonight, I'm just going to stay on and just be praying for everyone who attended tonight. And I hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to sign off on the Facebook Live now, but I will stay on Zoom.